Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 22, Fundamentalism. Let us have introduction about the unit. Religion has been traditionally one of the major component of national identity and at times its most prominent feature. Almost every state comprises of groups having faith in one religion or the other. Northern Ireland has Protestants and Catholics. Sri Lanka, Christian, Tamil, and Buddhist Sinhalese. India, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christians, and many others. And even in a particular religion, there may be one sect or the other, the Sunnis and the Shias among the Muslims, the Arya Samajas, the Sanatan Dharmis, and Brahmins among the Hindus, for example. In addition to religious fundamentalism, there is, or what may be said, secularist fundamentalism. If fundamentalism is to be meant an uncompromising belief in the origin and most basic thought frameworks of certain principles and a commitment to them. So, understood totalitarianism in the form of fascism or communalism amounts to fundamentalism. Religion fundamentalism and secularist fundamentalism have much in common. Conviction in the basic principles, commitments, or belief, and more or less a fantastical zeal in method. Fundamentalism is not necessarily always religious. It may be non-religious as well. Fundamentalism is rigid conformity to doctrines, and this may be religious or ideological or both. Meaning of fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is variously described by different scholars while emphasizing its one aspect or the other. That is why fundamentalism is religious as well as non religious. Ideological fundamentalism may also be stated as one form of fundamentalism. Hegwood defines the fundamentalism as a belief in the original or most basic principles of creed, often associated with first commitment and sometimes reflected in fanatical zeal. The implications of the term fundamentalism from his definition are the belief either in the original creed or in its basic principles. The belief takes the form of commitment, and the commitment takes the form of fanaticism. The word creed denoting the accepting system of beliefs becomes more or less a religious form. If creed be taken as a religious concept. Religious fundamentalism would therefore mean the belief in the original creed or in the basic principles of the creed together with commitment to those principles touching the boundaries of fanaticism. In this sense, any religion may take the shape of religious fundamentalism, Christian, Islamic, Hindu, and the like. To be a man of religion and to be a fundamentalist are not the same thing, for religion is not fundamentalism. Faith in religion does not amount to faith in religious fundamentalism. Religion implies a moral order, a sublime faith, and a spiritual end. Fundamentalism, and especially its religious aspect in the pervasion of religion, it is the explanation of religion, sometimes open and sometimes subtle. It is a fabrical mean in the wicked immoral end, converting religiosity into political or fanatical bellicosity. Fundamentalism is opposed to secularism, rationalism, humanism, and tolerance. It seeks to divide the civil society in numerous parts, pitting one against the other and preaching nothing but hatred. A fundamentalist knows his own religion and knows it in his own interest alone, and therefore, to that extent, does not even respect his own religion. A true follower of religion is not necessarily fundamentalist. Rather, a fundamentalism is anti religious. A religious fundamentalist is one who projects his religious community as distinct and separate from the others. He gives precedence to his interest over the common interest. He perceives and deals with citizens not individually but religion wise. He, by looking at the citizens this way, distances himself from others and others from himself. Fundamentalism is a system of belief, so is true about any ideology. If fundamentalism is regarded as an ideology of belief, if it is a system belief, it is also an ideology belief. In this sense, if there is a religious fundamentalism, there is also a non religious, say, ideological fundamentalism. Communism, fascism, liberalism, and to a degree, every ideology is also a system belief. Every ideology to that degree is fundamentalistic. In every ideology, there are beliefs, theories, set of principles foundational elements, followers who demonstrate faith as much as in any religion, and there are people who readily accept martyrdom. All these features can be seen in any religious fundamentalism as well. Fundamentalism, in the general and relatively wider sense, means an ideology or belief system, commitment to which is more or less a matter of faith, both in words and deeds. Next topic is ideology and fundamentalism. Ideologies are religion as religions are ideology in their own right. Religion becomes akin to fundamentalism when beliefs in it becomes unchallengeable and the other religions are made to appear separate from it. Ideology, like religion, is a belief system against which all other ideologies become false. There is thus a common feature working in both in ideology and religion, and it is a system of beliefs. Rigidity in beliefs leads to fundamentalism, both religious and non religious. The relationship between knowledge and belief is indeed subtle, though the distinction between the two is very obvious. It is science that separates the two. Knowledge is all science, or science leads to knowledge. Belief is only faith, and faith is always unscientific. But when knowledge ends up in belief, ideology and religion transform themselves into fundamentalism. Ideological fundamentalism is an unscientific and bare of knowledge as religious fundamentalism. When a religious percept says truth shall win, it is knowledge. But when a man from a religion says that what he is saying is truth, it is belief and therefore has in it all the essentials of fundamentalism. Likewise, Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin claim that their assertion alone is the gospel truth, and when they want all others to believe so, it is a secular or non religious fundamentalism. Faith in any form of fundamentalism is never questioned, and it stays beyond the reach of any reason and inquiry. A fundamentalist of the religious type would never permit faith to be destroyed of what he thinks to be a faith. No ideology and no leader of any ideology would ever allow to get its tenets challenged. Gongli faces of the fundamentalism points and rightly the result is that we decide about an invariant faith whenever discrepancies arise. We have to reinterpret, modify, ignore, or destroy the sources of discrepancies. As fundamentals become an article of faith, changes in the ideological belief become impossible, and it then changes to fundamentalism. Neither any religious nor any non religious fundamentalist can afford any dissent, either of voice or word. Silencing of voice and pen is a significant pursuit of all forms of fundamentalism. With the development of ideological or religious thinking and the evolution of fundamentalism, a condition is created that is aptly described by Aldous Huxley. At no period of world's history has organized laying being practiced so shamelessly. The fundamentalist demand is the surrender of individual consciousness to what he thinks is the basic principle of religion or ideology. With a fundamentalist, God, Hitler, or Marx are never wrong. Fundamentalism need to be confused with revivalism. With the passage of time, there do arise rigidity and complexity in the evolution of any religion. When attempts are made to modify rigid rules, or in the course of such movements, new sects appear, they do not constitute fundamentalistic activities. The rise of Buddhism and Jainism as a reaction to Hinduism, Reformation movement as a reaction to the Roman Catholic Church, or movements launched by the Muslim reformers cannot be labeled as fundamentalist movement. These and other religious revivalism are attempts to reform religions, reinterpret the precepts, or launch a new religion. Likewise, when Lenin was trying to reinterpret Marxism, or Mao seeking to introduce Marxism Leninism in China, they were making efforts not to deviate from the Marxian tenets, though such an assertion cannot be made about Bernstein, Hitler, and Mussolini, on the other hand, were merely restating totalitarian fundamentalism. Next is core characteristics of fundamentalism. Fundamentalism, though used too frequently in the present day world, has never been clear in the minds of the people so far as its meaning is concerned. The word means different things to different people. At times, it is used in a deprecatory sense without assigning any clear cut connotation. The word first received currency from a series of publications entitled The Fundamentals, published in the United States in 1909. Originally, it indicated a belief that the Bible, or for that matter any holy book of any religion, is infallible, as it contains the words of God. A fundamentalist regards his own creed or religion or a system of belief to be necessary sufficient, and eternally completely valid. One of the basic characteristics of fundamentalism is that it goes back to the original and the definite sources and interprets them in its own words, asserting in the correctness of what the interpreter is saying. A fundamentalist position in this regard is that what he is saying is the correct interpretation of the original, or that the source meant what his interpretation is. A fundamentalist would not accept the opposite interpretation, nor would he like to change what he thinks to be correct. In his attitude, a fundamentalist is uncompromising in his nature. He is aggressive in his conviction. He is a fanatic. Ideology too has these features. A Hitlerite is a Hitlerite, whatever be the circumstance. A liberal is a liberal, whatever be at stake. A communist is a communist, whatever be the temptations. Doctrinal conformity is another characteristic feature of all fundamentalism. The fundamentalist conviction in the doctrine is unassailable. Its principles are inviolable, indefensible, literal, and absolutely binding. He is absolutely certain that the essential care of his belief is capable of solving all problems. His faith is inherent, exclusive to all other ideologies, and thus self sufficient and incommensurate with other philosophies or ideologies. Ganguly writes, we can clearly comprehend why revisionism is a deadly crime in communalism and why apostasy is punishable by death in fundamentalist Islam. Fundamentalism does not know the language of conversation, but only that of imposition. Believing in doctrinal correctness, a fundamentalist wants the rest of the society to conform to the doctrine. The fundamentalist, instead of participating in dialogue, control deliberations, and do not hesitate to intervene openly, forcibly, to ensure that society is compelled to conform to the behaviors their worldview requires. Scott Bishop says the belief that they are right without any question justifies in their own minds, taking upon themselves the right to impose their point of view by force if necessary. Fundamentalism has its own doctrine, if not the creed. It seeks to institute a harsh set of rules as political law. The Sharia as in Khomeini, Iran becomes the law of the land. So was the case in Taliban's Afghanistan, and so was Hitler's word, or Mussolini's word in Italy, a law in Nazi Germany, and that of Stalin in the former USSR. As one Mormon leader in the case of religious fundamentalism once said, while addressing an audience of university students, do not think for yourself, the thinking has already been done. A fundamentalist is never an audience, he is always a speaker. Chauvinism is another defining characteristic of fundamentalism. While a fundamentalist of the religious type talks in the name of God, he is one who denies himself the power of God. While he makes a full cry of equality, he is by nature a patristic. While he claims all life based around faith, he declares all science to be wrong. While he pays a great deal of lip service to ideas, he ignores them in practice and occasionally is contemptuous of them in private. He plays foul with religion or ideology for which he claims to live and die if necessary. Fundamentalism is always without a base. It starts with a conclusion and thereafter searches for evidence of support for the conclusion. And if the fundamentalist does not find any, he creates one. He is an evidence-less exercise. This sort of methodology is not exclusive to Christianity, but can be seen in other religions too. The Christian fundamentalists are as non scientific as other fundamentalists, Islamic, Hindu, and the like. Fundamentalism promotes ignorance. It does not permit why. The followers of Marx, whose life motto was challenge everything, do not give this concession to others, not even to Marxists themselves. Bidstrup writes, fundamentalism, all too often justifies in its adherents' minds and prejudices the zealotry, the intolerance, and the hate mongering that are all the most base of human instincts. Fundamentalism of any stripe, he continues, is not progress, but rather, I contend, is the impedance of progress. Here we want to wind up this lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.